Matthew, Nick's scenario might add you both breaking out in cold sweats is the crisis-laden week. How to navigate it, where the opportunities for positives are, but they're self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, the situation is the situation. So you really dealt with the cards you've got in front of you. You've just got to work your way through it, and step by step. The biggest thing, and it'd be interesting talking to Simmo about it, is just the energy that it takes away and the focus that it takes away. I mean, there's the seriousness of the incident in the first place, and you have to deal with that. And I'm sure that Nixie's got people around him, and the football club have got people around there to be able to do those things and deal with the seriousness of it. But then the practicality of actually, the doorstop of Jordan Dawson, everyone's on the radio over there, they're on the media, they're talking about it all the time. So it's just the energy that it takes out of you, and trying to get that energy directed back into the game is the real art of coaching, and trying to address it, do what you have to do. Then when you come inside the four walls, how do you direct it into the energy of the game?
Simmo?
Well, this time of year, there's two platforms, I suppose. There's injuries, and then there's the self-inflicted position that Adelaide are in. And, I think Horse and I both been through both situations. And from a leadership point of view, how do you handle that? And your media management's important from a coaching point of view. So I noticed Nixie pushed back his press conference a couple of days, which is probably the wise thing to do. And being in a two-team town, it becomes number one priority. As much as the AFL's all over it, you imagine what it's like in Adelaide at the moment. So what he says in the next time he speaks will be very measured, and then how he treats the player, and then how he treats the team and the footy department will be all part of his next phase in what is a big campaign coming up. So, yeah, the self-inflicted ones, they're the most difficult ones because injuries happen. But these things, they also happen, but it's a different way of handling it.
So we'll go through some of them in a minute, but just you two take us. You must have a moment where you just shake your head, and whether it's when you get home and you close the door and you say, how has this happened? We're on top of the ladder, we're premiership favourites, we're playing the best footy we have for 10 years, and arguably our best player's not going to be involved.
It normally happens when you look at your phone and it's the CEO or the football manager ringing. That's not really a good thing, and particularly if it's late at night or early in the morning. Yeah. And so you usually take a breath and you go, OK, what's this mean? Right. And then you answer it, and then the range of emotions you go through to be able to deal with that. The next call is usually to your media manager, and probably people don't really get the concept until you're in the footy club, and Simmo just mentioned it before, but your media manager you talk to is almost as much as your senior coaches, as your assistant coaches. You talk to them a great deal, and you need to be really using them as much as you can during these periods to be able to make sure that energy is directed.
Yep, it's a lot, that's for sure. So maybe take us to each of your case studies. All of these scenarios are different, and yours, John, was on the eve of a final series where Buddy Franklin wasn't going to be able to play. Yeah,
and that was back in 2015 when it became apparent that Lance needed some time away. And I guess this is a bit of a different scenario. This is a completely different scenario. In Lance's case, he just he could not play. And so it was very clear. So we didn't have to go through the what ifs of that. It was very clear that Lance needed to step away from the game, and that was absolutely the right call for Lance, for the football club, for everybody. It was absolutely the right call to look after Lance. And so back then you needed to be able to deal with it, talk and care in regards to the person that you're dealing with. That's first and foremost in your mind, to be able to give that care and understanding, and then be able to direct yourself and your energy back into the football team. And really, you rely enormously on your leaders when that happens. And Simmo, you've had plenty of experiences in this space as well.
Yeah, I think it's important. The most important piece for me, anyway, was the empathy piece. So every time you're talking to someone, so for us it was 2018. We lost Nat Nui about round 18. We lost Brad Shepherd in the first final, but we also lost Andrew Gaff. It was a self-inflicted situation. So all three different situations we had to deal with, and you just got to put yourself in their shoes is the first and foremost thing you do. And then you deal with the issue as best you can through your media department. Then you've got to talk to your players. And unfortunately with the injuries, it's next soldier up. It's just the way you got to approach it. And I'm sure Nixie's got a lot of roles within his football team, so someone's just got to come in and play that role, and that's how you got to be pretty black and white. For us, in 18, we had the time with Nick to try and do something a bit different, but Brad Shepherd was a big part of our solution with the way he played. So we brought in Will Schofield, and it was just roll for roll. So it was pretty black and white. Willie Rioli was a little bit different for us. That was in 2019. So the night before the game, we're in the hotel. We just landed, and Asada just come in and just and grabbed him, and pretty much I didn't see him again for a couple of months. So he was an important part of that side as well. So we had to fly over Jack Petruccelli to fill the void, and we lost the next night. It was pretty disruptive, but at the same time, it was okay. We've lost Willie. Let's get on. Let's get on with it. We've got Petch in, and let's play. So, yeah, how you lead through this is really important. It's a really important piece, and I think it starts with empathy of the situation and the people you're talking to.
So I think it's worth pointing out is you lost that final in 2019. You lost both of your finals in 2015. So you navigate it as best you can, and then there are football implications. And then you're the poster boy for what's happening right now. Everyone goes to the 2018 Eagles. This can still be done. You did have a bit longer to plan for it than the week before the finals.
Yeah, Nixie's not thinking about grand finals. He's thinking about this week. So as much as they may have locked up top two, there's an opportunity for someone to come in and play a role. So the team's not built around one person. And I think everyone within, and Horst, you can attest to this, that everyone within the four walls knows that. They know there's particular talented players that are very important, but no one wouldn't believe they can still win it without him. So it's not a difficult message to send. It's someone gets another opportunity, we keep moving forward. You actually worry a little bit more about the player, not, Rankine's going to be the one they're going to worry about the most. I think the players are going to be fine. I reckon Adelaide are going to be fine. I still think there is, as much as on paper they're not as strong, I don't think they're thinking like that. So that's how we approached it. Another opportunity comes up for someone else, and from a leadership point of view, you got to stay calm. Duck on a pond sort of vibe. Underneath the water, you're going 100 miles an hour, but you're looking pretty calm on top. So it's just business as usual. We just don't have him this week.
We'll go into some tactical stuff in a minute. Just in a word, can they still win it without him?
Yes.
Simmo?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, let's take us to Saturday night. It was an incredible game of footy. Strategy became a massive part of it, and you two guys are as good as anyone to talk us through it. Who instigates the loose behind the footy? Who then sits in the box and says, yeah, we're happy to go this way? Talk us through how it all unfolds.
Yeah, it's interesting. So this is a bit of strategy versus system, and everyone has a way to play against. So we're playing Adelaide this week. We think getting an extra behind the play is going to work well for us. We've all got our metrics that we use and our identity and how we move the ball, but it's mainly from a stoppage situation. You'll set up potentially 6 forwards ahead of the play, or if you want an extra behind the play and you don't want to drop off a higher forward, you'll use your wingers. So I think this game started with Collingwood saying, okay, Houston, we'll get you on the wing and we're going to put you behind the play at stages, especially at stoppages between the arcs, and we're going to have an extra. So Adelaide went with that extra, so 7-man forward line, and then after a poor start, I think they said, all right, well, we'll get an extra at our end. And within 10 minutes, it became a extra versus extra, so plus ones, and we'll look at some vision in a second. How and why do teams do that is interesting, because it's defensively, but it's also an offensive weapon as well. I think Horst, Geelong are the best at this. We'll look at 2 clips. I think, Horst, your clip's more based around a forward 50 stoppage where almost every team will pull an extra behind the play. But how do you deal with that when you're dealing with an extra in front of the play offensively?
Yeah, and as we look at the screen now, you see Darcy Cameron, as Simmo mentioned, normally most teams have an extra back. Their ruckman comes back and drops back, and you can just see with the bit of delay that it gives the opposition to be able to look up. They can't really go forward because they're looking straight at Darcy Cameron. Collingwood have done a great job there to be able to block up the corridor. They can't switch, they can't use their loose. Maybe I'm not sure whether they've trained at it as much as what some teams have, but they go down the line, they decide to go down the line anyway. They get a bit lucky here. The ball actually spills down. You can just see Dacos come in, which they're normally really good at holding their width here. Collingwood, Dacos comes in. You see the ball spill over here, and the reaction time of the Adelaide forwards to get forward. Collingwood like to press those contested situations, and that gives you the opportunity when the ball gets over the back with really quick reflexes to get forward. And Simmo's going to go through, from the other perspective now.
Let me just pause this for a quick second, boys, just so I get. I'm not as sharp as horse. I need to get my bearings. So this is the winger situation. That's what I spoke about earlier, and I think Adelaide decided after 15 minutes, you know what, we're going to have our own +1. So these two wingers are Houston and Curtin. If you let it go, if you just watch those two, they're playing footy. They're holding their balance. They're playing that wing role. And the second, though, it goes out of bounds, they both sort of start peeling towards the defensive end, and they'll pick up the highest half forward and then free up a defender. And this is already organised. That defender, he's not going to be the spare for Collingwood. We're just focusing on Collingwood for a second. They'll work it out so Darcy Moore's free. So they'll come and replace. And eventually, as that ball gets thrown in, you'll see there's an extra behind the play. And if you look up the other end, they've done the same thing. So now, if you're Adelaide, you've got to be aware of that. And just bombing the ball in becomes an issue. So he looks up, there's your visual delay. Okay, feed it back. That's great for Collingwood, more pressure. Another visual delay. And then you try and hit this kick, and then there you get the ball back. The biggest issue that Horse and I spoke about, that's great, but what are you doing now if you're Collingwood? You can't go straight back as quick as you can because your spare behind the plate probably needs to be used. And Horse, it's fair to say Geelong are the best at using that spare now. We've got a spare to get the ball back, but now we're going to use that spare to get the ball forward.
Yeah, it's not just a defensive mechanism. Geelong are great at being able to use that extra now in offence. Saw them play the SCG last week. They'll then use that extra and away they go to attack.
Excellent. All right, we'll see you on the eve of the final series.
Simmo's he's in fine form.
Yeah, you want to make sure you got your guard up, guys.
They're slowly taking over.
Adam Simpson and John Longmire, our coaches on 360.